The rain fell in relentless sheets, hammering the cracked pavement outside the tiny apartment where Elena Martinez lived with her 6-year-old daughter, Sofia. The single bulb dangling from the ceiling flickered, casting shadows across the peeling wallpaper. Elena sat at the kitchen table, her fingers trembling as she unfolded the final eviction notice. 3 months behind on rent. The landlord's patience had run dry, and the words "vacate by end of week" stared back at her like a death sentence. Sofia's soft humming drifted from the corner, where she colored on scrap paper with a single stubby crayon. Elena's heart clenched. She couldn't fail her daughter. Not again. The job ad had come like a whisper of hope in the classifieds she'd scavenged from a diner's trash bin. Caregiver needed for private patient. High pay. Discretion required. The number listed led to a clipped voice. A man who asked few questions and demanded an interview the next day. Elena had no nursing degree, just a high school diploma and a lifetime of scraping by, but she'd cared for her grandmother until the end. She knew how to be patient, how to be gentle. She could do this. The address was a sleek high-rise in Manhattan, a world away from her cramped Brooklyn walk-up. The lobby gleamed with marble and crystal, and Elena felt the weight of every scuff on her worn sneakers as she stepped into the elevator. A man in a tailored suit, introducing himself as Mr. Grayson, met her on the penthouse floor. His eyes were sharp, assessing, but not unkind. "You understand the job?" he asked, leading her through a sprawling apartment that smelled faintly of antiseptic and wealth. "Mr. Alexander Kane requires round-the-clock care. He's unresponsive. A car accident 2 years ago. You'll manage his daily needs, medications, and report any changes. No family visits. No media. Absolute privacy." Elena nodded, her throat tight. Alexander Kane. The name stirred a vague memory. Some billionaire tech mogul whose face had once been plastered across magazines. Now, he was a ghost in a city that worshipped his name. Grayson handed her a contract, the salary figure so high it made her dizzy. Enough to clear her debts, to move Sofia somewhere safe, maybe even afford a tutor for her dyslexia. She signed without hesitation. Her first day began at dawn. The penthouse was silent, save for the hum of medical equipment. Kane lay in a hospital bed in a room with floor-to-ceiling windows, the Manhattan skyline glittering beyond. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe mid-30s, with sharp cheekbones and dark hair that fell across his forehead. His eyes were closed, his chest rising and falling with the rhythm of the ventilator. Elena checked his chart, adjusted his and spoke softly as she worked. "I'm Elena," she said, though she knew he couldn't hear. "I'll take good care of you." Days blurred into weeks. Elena's life became a cycle of sponge baths, tube feedings, and quiet moments reading aloud to Kane from books she found on his shelves. Dickens, Tolstoy, even a dog-eared copy of The Little Prince. Sofia sometimes came after school, sitting cross-legged on the floor with her crayons, chattering about her day. Elena taught her to be gentle around the equipment, and Sofia would whisper secrets to Kane, as if he were a friend. "Mommy says you're sleeping, but I think you're just thinking real hard," she'd say, patting his hand. Elena didn't notice the first change. It was subtle, a twitch in Kane's finger one evening as she adjusted his blanket. She froze, staring, but it didn't happen again. She logged it in the chart, unsure if it was real or wishful thinking. Grayson, when she mentioned it, frowned. "His condition is permanent, Ms. Martinez. Don't get your hopes up." But Elena couldn't shake the feeling that something was different. She started watching closer, noticing tiny flickers, a flutter of eyelids, a slight shift in his breathing when she read certain passages. She began talking to him more, sharing stories of her life. The bodega where she'd worked at 16, the husband who'd left when Sofia was a baby, the dreams she'd buried under years of survival. One night, alone in the penthouse, Elena sat by Kane's bed, exhausted. Sofia was with a neighbor, and the city outside was a blur of lights. "You know," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I used to want to be a teacher. Stupid, right? Me, teaching kids, when I can barely keep my own life together." She laughed, but it caught in her throat. "Sofia's the only thing I've done right. She's so smart, Alex. You'd like her." She paused, realizing she'd called him by his first name. It felt intimate, almost wrong, but no one was there to judge. Then it happened. His hand moved, not a twitch, but a deliberate curl of fingers around hers. Elena gasped, her heart pounding. Alex? She whispered. His eyes remained closed, but his grip tightened, just for a moment, before going slack. She didn't tell Grayson. She didn't tell anyone. Instead, she started testing, watching for patterns. She read more, played music, even brought in Sofia's drawings to describe them. Each time, there were signs, small, fleeting, but undeniable. He was in there, somewhere, listening. Months passed, and Elena's life stabilized. The salary paid off the eviction notice, moved them to a better apartment, and enrolled Sofia in a reading program. But the secret of Kane's responses weighed on her. She researched his condition late at night, learning about locked-in syndrome, about patients trapped in their bodies, aware but unable to communicate. She wondered if Grayson knew more than he let on, why the no visitors rule was so strict. One evening, she found a locked drawer in Kane's study, and curiosity got the better of her. Using a paperclip, she pried it open, revealing a stack of letters, and signed, addressed to Kane, pleading for forgiveness. It was an accident, one read. I never meant for this to happen. Elena's stomach churned. The car accident. Had it been no accident at all? She confronted Grayson the next day, her voice steady despite her fear. Who did this to him? She demanded, holding up the letters. Grayson's face hardened. You're overstepping, Ms. Martinez. Your job is to care for him, not to play detective. But Elena pressed, her kindness tempered with resolve. He's responding, Mr. Grayson. He's awakened there. He deserves to know the truth. Grayson's eyes widened, and for the first time, he looked shaken. He admitted the letters were from a former business partner, Victor Lang, who'd vanished after the crash. The police had ruled it an accident, but Grayson suspected sabotage, a deal gone wrong, a betrayal over billions. Elena's discovery changed everything. She began whispering to Kane about the letters, careful not to upset him, but determined to reach him. I'm here, Alex, she'd say. We'll figure this out together. One night, as she read from The Little Prince, his eyes opened. Not just a flutter, but wide, piercing blue, locking onto hers. Elena froze, tears welling. Alex, she whispered. His lips twitched, forming a faint, crooked smile. No words, but the message was clear. He knew her. From that moment, Elena became his voice. She worked with a neurologist Grayson reluctantly brought in, using eye-tracking technology to help Kane communicate. Slowly, painfully, he confirmed what the letter suggested. Victor Lang had tampered with his car, a desperate act to seize control of Kane's empire. Elena held his hand through every revelation, her presence a steady anchor. Sofia, too, became part of his recovery, her laughter filling the sterile room with life. See, Mommy? He was just thinking real hard, she'd say, and Kane's eyes would crinkle with what Elena swore was a laugh. The climax came when Grayson, armed with Kane's testimony, tracked down Lang. The confrontation wasn't dramatic. No fists or guns, just a quiet arrest in a London hotel, Lang's empire crumbling as Kane's truth came to light. Elena was there when Kane typed his first full sentence on the eye tracker. Thank you, Elena. You gave me back my life. She sobbed, not just for him, but for the weight of her own journey, the years of struggle, the nights of doubt, the love she'd poured into a man the world had forgotten. In the end, Kane didn't return to his CEO throne. He funded a foundation for others with locked-in syndrome, using his wealth to give voice to the voiceless. Elena, with his support, enrolled in college to become a teacher, her old dream rekindled. Sofia's drawings hung in Kane's new home, a smaller, warmer place where he learned to live again. The three of them weren't a family, not in the traditional sense, but they were bound by something deeper, a shared belief in second chances, in the quiet power of kindness to heal what seemed broken beyond repair. The rain still fell on New York, but Elena no longer saw it as a threat. It was just water, washing the city clean, making room for new beginnings. As she tucked Sofia into bed one night, her daughter asked, Mommy, is Mr. Alex happy now? Elena smiled, thinking of his crooked smile, his eyes that now followed her every move. Yeah, baby, she said. He's happy. And so are we.